Due to the ignorance of our host, parental discretion is advised.
$237?
237.
Okay. One of these times we're going to catch up to the UFCs, right?
That's right. Wait, that's right, dude. What are the 290?
291.
The last one? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the other side of the Beehive. It's your weekly boys coming straight at you from the Beehive State in the Beehive Studios. It's your favorite bees. I'm throwing it all out there, dude. Running out of ideas.
Yeah, I don't have any jokes for you.
Yeah, see, there you go. But at least we have a guest with us. We haven't had a guest in a minute.
That's no beeswax. Yeah, they're there. Just got to give me a second.
There's your joke.
You got one?
No.
Well, that's all the time we have. Thank you so much.
Yeah. No.
Zach's back with us, man. You've been...
Can we say?
Yeah.
Probably one of the busiest men that we fucking know, right?
Yeah.
First and foremost, before we really get into it, number one insurance agent in the Beehive State.
My guy.
Right here. I'm telling you what.
This is my guy then.
And I know I ran into you at the fights, and we have to have a conversation.
Yeah.
I got a quick story, but after we get done introducing you.
Yeah.
Matchmaker, Fierce Fighting Championship.
Oh, I thought you
And
meant for love. I was like, oh, can you work with me?
it's not Hitch, I don't think. Right. And, we ready?
Yeah.
Fighter.
Nice.
The Crown Fighting Championships, right?
Yeah. Finally back. Be almost 2 years.
2 years since you fought.
Did you know you were going to come back?
Oh yeah.
Deep down, you knew?
Oh yeah.
Like a little bit of a hiatus?
Oh yeah. Yeah. No. I've been in the gym the whole time. One thing that's really weird for me, as a matchmaker, you know, I run Fierce Fighting Championship now. Then as a matchmaker, and I'll call somebody and be like, hey, does this person want to fight? And they're like, oh man, we haven't seen him in like months. He hasn't been training. And I'm like, and it kind of blows me away, right?
Right.
I'm going to be real honest about some of the things with this job and the insights
Yeah.
of running a promotion. But one of the things is from a fighter, it blows me away. I'm at my gym 6 days a week. I haven't had a fight scheduled or anything really. I was supposed to have one last March, you know, that unfortunately my opponent got COVID. And so,
That's still a thing?
we lost last March. It was last March, like not this March.
He's all, I haven't been in the gym. He's like, oh, that COVID's rampant right now.
Right.
And I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
Oh, you're going to get canceled quick. But man, I'm in the gym 6 days a week pretty much. Like, I don't really miss. Like, it's part of, for me, it's like kind of the journey of a martial artist, like always evolving, always getting better. I don't understand these fighters that are like, yeah, I'm a fighter, but I don't train when I don't have a fight. Like,
You've always been that way, or now that you're the man?
I've always been that way.
You've just always been that way.
I mean, I joke around with my coach, and I mean, it might not be a joke because I think there's some truth to it. Like, besides the owner of the gym, like, I'm at the gym more than anybody else at our gym at One Hit MMA, probably. There might be a couple of guys that can say, hey, I'm at least there as much as you, but not many. Like, I'm there 6 days a week. I train 6 days a week. I have some clients that I do one-on-one private lessons with. Just not really fighters as much, but just like guy in my neighborhood that just wanted to do a different type of workout than just lifting. And so he comes in boxes with me every week or whatever. But man, I mean, I'm there, you know, and I'm training and I'm getting better and evolving, and I don't really take time off or breaks for anything.
right. Have they announced your opponent yet?
I don't know if they have, but I mean,
You know who it is, though.
Yeah. His name's Patrick Branch from Las Vegas.
Okay.
He's coming off an even longer layoff. He has, I think this is right, I think his last fight was before I started. It's like
Holy
2016
shit.
was his last fight, I think.
God damn.
So
Wow.
yeah, and really funky body type, 6'5" at 170 pounds.
Holy shit.
So I think it's interesting and it's exciting and it's fun. He's 4-4, so he used to be really active. He's fought some really, really tough dudes. He's fought for titles in other promotions. So have I. So it's like I think it'll be a banger and fun will be had by all.
Is it 170?
Yeah.
Fighting at 170. Huh?
Yeah. Got a couple LBs to lose, but yeah.
I saw you weighed at 2 when you did your video. You were at 2. You're good then.
But I'm 204. Like I'm like 204 right now. Like kind of, I've had a lot of people since my video. I was gonna make another one because I've had a lot of people reach out and they're like, "How do you lose that much weight?" It's consistency for a long period of time, right? Like I've had a pretty good idea. I was fighting on this card for a while now, so about the last 6-7 weeks, start like tightening up the diet. Still cheating here or there, but like tightening up the diet and things like that. And then like once I sign, it's like drinking a gallon of water every day. Like we're not really having treats. We're not no processed sugars. Making sure you're in a calorie deficit every day, but still fueling your body, not starving yourself, but eating super clean. Like my treats are Reigns and Coke Zero but sugar-free stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, everybody's like, "How do you do that?" I've had a couple people reach out, and it's just like consistency. The people that like, I'm just gonna do my thing, and then I'm just gonna lose these last 30 pounds in the last 2 weeks of fight camp. It's like, your body's gonna freak out and it's gonna shut down on you. So my whole thing was, I need to be under 205 by August 1st. I hit that. So now I need to be under 195 by September 1st, which is just 2.5 pounds a week. So it's not, that's nothing crazy.
Right.
You could healthily lose that. And then I'll just kind of keep on that for another 3 weeks. I'll go into fight week. If I'm 195, lose another 2.5 pounds a week. I'll probably be, 187, 188 weight going into fight week, getting a massive calorie deficit because I'm not training and I'm just starting to relax my body and getting really fresh. And just kind of getting a light workout, but low impact. And then I'll just cut it. And then, at that point too, I'm drinking 2.5 gallons of water a day.
Right, just water loading like a motherfucker.
Water loading, and then Epsom salt bath until I'm 170.
When you decided that you were ready to do it, did you reach out to them or did they reach out to you?
Yeah. So, just the way things have played out, Steel Fist isn't really an option for me. Yeah. I can't fight for my own promotion.
Yeah, I figured so. Right.
There's for good reason. There's a rule in the state of Utah. You can only carry one license per event. So, Cody Bunderson's the owner of Fierce, and he
stud, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And he has the promoter's license. And then I'm his chief operating officer. So if he can't make it to a show, I can act as the promoter under him. But my license is as the matchmaker, and so that's a license. And then the other license is a coach, or a corner, and then as a fighter. So if I'm the matchmaker carrying that matchmaker license on a card, I can't be a fighter on the card, or I can't corner on the card.
Makes sense though, right?
Yeah, it's conflict of interest. I mean, there's a professional fighter that ran his own show and fought for his own title and beat a dude that he'd already beaten before and put his own belt on himself. Like, I don't know how long ago that was, but so it's like...
He was here, huh?
Yeah, you know that.
I know.
So,
we won't even say that name.
Yeah, it's cool. Like, I'm not trying to like dog him.
No, absolutely.
But I mean, that
the times have changed.
But they made that rule because it's like, it's a conflict of interest, man. Yeah. Like the integrity of the sport and everything like that. Like, it's just a bad look. Like, I mean, I'm not sure the reason behind it. Maybe the guy lost his opponent and he's like, well, freak, I don't want the card to cancel. I'll step in and I'll just fight him. Like, I don't know the circumstances, but I think it's a good rule. So we've toyed with the idea of me stepping down as matchmaker. I mean, I'd still obviously be the chief operating officer and I'd be running a lot of the other Fierce stuff, but stepping down from my role as a matchmaker and the license for a card and stepping away from my responsibilities, the behind the scenes stuff,
right,
and actually fighting on a Fierce card. But Aaron Ace down in Fusion in St. George, anybody's down in St. George, they have a great gym, but they brought Crown Fighting Championship back. I mean, St. George, September 30th is beautiful down there that time of year, and just sounds like a good time to go.
It does sound like a good time that time of the year, especially not too hot, just about right.
Yeah, so I've known for a while, and I've mentioned to him for a few times, like, hey, I'm gonna get on one of these shows. I just have to find the timing too. We're running Fierce cards, about every month.
Absolutely.
So it's like I had to find a timing wise where I could put in a camp, not pull away from Fierce and do my thing.
Yeah, because there's August 26th?
August 26th at the Maverick Center.
We have a
huge show.
Do that main event.
When we dropped the promo and the poster for that card, I've never gotten so many text messages like,
Really?
are you kidding me? Yeah. Jerome Hatch is our 205 champ, coming down to middleweight. He hasn't fought in middleweight in, I think they said like 11 years or something. You know, he's dropping down to 185, and he's fighting Mike Jones, who, you know, he doesn't have the sexiest record in the world, but he's fought a lot of tough dudes, and he's taken some short notice fights and picked up some L's that he probably shouldn't have. But he's on a 2-fight win streak now, and I mean, it's probably as big of a main event as the state of Utah's had
been
in
in
a
the
long
scene
time.
for Utah for a while too.
Yeah.
I mean, he's definitely a respected individual when it comes
Oh,
to the
and he's a
MMA
stud.
scene. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
No, it's a banger of a card. The 26th Maverick Center. In fact, I was just on. Tickets are still available. I'm going now, so
Good.
yep. So,
Sick.
What's easier for you, or what would you rather do? Would you rather do the matchmaker for good, or rather be a fighter for good? Like if you had to choose,
if you could fight
between both
forever,
of them.
I mean, I got into the promotional and business side of things because I'm not going to be able to matchmake forever, or I'm not going to be able to fight forever. Right?
Yeah.
I'm a competitor first and foremost. Like I'm as competitive as they come, and I love to compete. I want to fight. Like that's this wasn't even like a
just ignore the drums.
one
and
off.
I
Yeah,
promise you.
Just
that
ignore
you,
Jumanji out there, will you, please.
cool, right? It's like rhinos coming
Get
down
ready
the
for your walkout. So.
yeah. But no, I mean, I want to fight, and this isn't like, hey, I'm back for one fight and then whatever. Like, I'd like to get semi-active again.
That's what I was going to ask you.
And if I'm as good as I think I am, I have an idea of the way this fight's gonna go, and then I have a little hit list that I'll be
Beautiful.
sharing with people on the mic down in St. George, asking if some people want to scrap.
I always wonder, you know, obviously I'm not a fighter. I'm a lover.
It's okay.
Deep down, but I would, if you didn't know me on the streets, I would tell you I'm a fighter, right? But that's me. But I've always wondered, once you get that itch, if it ever goes away. And I had a great conversation with one of our good friends of the podcast. We won't talk about it till he's here next week. And he said it again to me. He's like, one more round. I'm like, you motherfucker. One more round. Like, does it ever go away? He's like, no. And I don't know if it ever will.
I don't think it will. Really, the hope is, I mean, it's a conversation me and my wife Hillary have had. She's like, okay, so when's it going to be done? Because I always I got into this late. She didn't sign up for this, right?
No,
I tell people all
that's
the
not.
time. I tell people all the time, you know, like, hey.
And were you married before?
Yeah. So, like, I tell people all the time, like, I have friends that, you know, they're fighters, and then they get into relationships, or then they get married, and then the wife's like, okay, I'm not cool with this anymore. And it's like, no. Like, I was a fighter before we even met.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
you knew what you were signing up for. Like, this isn't changing now that we're married. Or, I mean, they can handle it how they want. It just doesn't seem very fair to me.
Right.
And I feel like it's something that's probably going to create some resentment and some issues in a marriage.
Right.
I try to be really sensitive to the fact that my wife has been extremely supportive and stuff, but sometimes it's like, hey, I'm getting that itch to fight, and it's not time. I feel like I have to, because she's been so supportive and so incredible, like, she does kind of get final say of when I fight, because she didn't sign up for this.
Right.
I was a has-been football player, broken down, you know, like, I put that chapter in my life behind me, and then I just got into fighting again, and then it was like, yeah, we'll do one, and then, I mean, she knows me, and she knows, and it was like, yeah, sure, you'll just do one, and then it was like, you get offered the second fight, and she's like, okay, here we go.
Yeah, this is the ride. Hop on.
Yeah. And then it was always like, well, you know, like, my body's been through a lot. Like, I have surgeries that need to get done that I'm like, I'm not going to really do till after I'm done fighting. So I'm like,
I mean, your face looks
and
good.
I'm like,
I mean,
yeah, I try not to get hit, you know, work on that. But like my neck and my shoulder, and I've had 2 surgeries on my knee.
Teeth up. Oh, really?
Yeah. I have multiple chipped teeth, you know, and they're like, go get it fixed. I'm like, why? Like,
I'm not done.
I'm not done. I'm not going to go get it fixed. But, so we're, you know, and so it was always my feeling was 36 sounds like a good age. Like usually about 37.
Yeah.
You just start seeing a decline,
Yeah.
especially in the smaller weight classes like 170 and lower.
Yeah.
Those heavyweights can last
40,
longer.
42, absolutely.
Those heavyweights can last longer because, well, it's not predicated on like their speed and agility necessarily. It's a power game.
Power, yep.
And the fight IQ goes up, and that old man strength is a real thing.
Yeah.
And like, some heavyweights have very good careers and don't go into their prime till they're mid to late 30s. You know,
Right.
I mean, you look at some heavyweight like Randy Couture and like Mark Hunt and all these guys that have a lot of success into their 40s even. 170s, 155, 170, 180, those are some killer weight classes. And it's like, so I look at it and I'm like, 36. Well, I turned 35 this fall, and I'm like, I don't really see being done in the next 15 months, you know? So,
Right. I mean, they say the prime is, your mid 30s, once you get a little bit more, they kind of say it, but it's with everybody, right? It just depends.
I think a lot of it's fight IQ.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it's how you take care of your body.
But is it true what they say that, like you said, old man strength, that's the one thing you don't lose is the power. The quickness, a little bit out there, but power, that's just one thing. That's the last to go.
I mean, I feel like that's just science, right? Like
Right.
your muscles age and they harden. And when they harden and it's reps of muscle memory. I mean,
Right.
you take somebody, you take somebody that's been doing this for, 10, 15 years, even if they lost the speed, if they have that muscle memory and they've done those reps on it, those muscles are, it's going to hurt.
Right.
When they land, they can, especially at heavyweight. I mean, Mike Jones, Jerome Hatch, right? 185. They're both, Jerome's known for having a massive right hand that he can put people to sleep with. And Mike has a really interesting perspective. He goes, at 185 pounds, and they're both going to be well over 200 pounds when they step in that cage from what they cut. He's like, we all generate enough power to knock out another grown man that size.
Right.
So especially at heavyweight. So like I think old man strength and plus those bigger weight classes too, like you have so much weight behind those punches that like that it's the last to go.
Wow. Your opponent obviously hasn't fought in a while. How old is he?
I don't know.
I have no idea, huh?
Don't care.
Do you know what his fight style? Is he a brawler?
6'5". Yeah, so he's a kickboxer,
Is
right?
he?
Like he doesn't want to wrestle, he doesn't want to grapple, like he wants to fight in that range. I think he wants to be pretty. I watched 2 of his fights all the way through. I watched one of the fights he won and one of the fights that he lost. I talked to his last opponent, who's actually fought for Fierce, Ryder Newman, who is on season of the Ultimate Fighter, not too long ago, and main eventing a tough enough card here in September. Ryder's a stud. Reached out to him, and that was his last fight when I think it was Ryder's last or second to last amateur fight before he went pro. So I kind of got a little scouting report on him, and I think he wants to make it like a really pretty kickboxing match.
Right.
One thing that's really interesting though is same thing. Who knows what he's been working on?
Right.
I don't know if he's been in the gym or not. I don't know if maybe he's been in the gym like me 6 days a week and he's just getting better.
That's what I was gonna say.
And maybe all those limbs
For 7 years.
Maybe he's learned a ton of jiu-jitsu and he's
Right.
like the reincarnation of Tony Ferguson and can hit Darce chokes from wherever with those long lanky arms or whatever. I don't really care.
How ironic you said that, by the way.
I know you mentioned Amo. So you're gonna win, right?
But I'm just saying, Tony. Yeah, I hope he is. No, but he could be all those things, and I watched his style. I kind of have my reads, but like in a fight, like it's just so fluid, and there's so much that can happen. I don't really like to go in there with this is the way the fight's gonna go.
Right.
I'm gonna come and I'm gonna throw this combination, and I'm gonna whatever. Like I know where I want to take the fight, but at the same time, like you just have to be ready for everything.
But like, remind me if I'm wrong. Remind me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. But like last time you were here, this is the first time. You actually mentioned that you're more of a standout guy, right? You're more of a throw guy than roll.
I'd like to, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
so it's gonna be a dogfight if he
it
comes out
might
with
be.
that.
I mean, if we want to, but I mean, fight IQ wise,
Get in close. Get him up
probably
against the
shouldn't
cage.
stand and kickbox with a dude that's probably going to have a
4
solid
or 5 inch reach on you.
for sure. For sure. I fight long. Like I'm not too worried about it. I have a buddy.
What are you?
6 foot.
6 foot.
I have a buddy at my gym that's very similar body type. His last fight was like at 180 pounds. He's 6'4". So very similar body types. So I'm like, hey, buddy, sorry, but we're gonna have a fun camp together, like whether you like it or not. Yeah. So just getting used to that range and stuff, and I mean, I can get on him and touch him plenty. Like I'm not afraid to. But the other thing is like the Zack. If he went and watched, I'm assuming he did what I did, at least, and went and watched my last couple of fights.
Yeah.
And if he thinks I'm not going to make the same mistake that I think he is probably. I think he thinks if he goes and watches those fights and he thinks he knows who he's fighting, he's going to be in a world of trouble, because the version of me now would probably stop me 2 years ago in the first round. I'm that much better. And I mean, I hope that's what he thinks, but my style is different. I never had a wrestling class until like 2 years ago. I wrestle like 2 or 3 times a week now.
So it was all football through high school, right? All football, just learning to what position did you play?
I played safety and wide receiver.
Well, I was going to say, so it was just about knocking guys over, but no, I wasn't doing that.
I was a lineman in Little League, but yeah, I mean, yeah. So I would like to stand, but like my wrestling's gotten pretty good.
Yeah.
Like we had a kid from Penn State come up.
I saw that.
Which, by the way, Penn State is top of the food chain.
There's, I mean, when they talk
wrestling.
about collegiate wrestling, like that's like that's the standard, right?
Yeah, for the last decade, right? They're top of the food chain, and Bo Nichols.
Isn't that I was going to say Bo Nichols from there?
Yeah,
right?
and so this kid, Tyrell, he was a 4-time state champion at Layton High with Cole Faust, who's my best friend and teammate, one of my best friends and teammate. And Cole invited him to practice, and he came. Dude, that dude ragdoll. He was a 4-time state champ at Layton High, goes to Penn State. He's wrestling at Penn State, and he's home for a minute right now. Jeez. And he just ragdolled me. But I will say this, like, I mean, I've been wrestling with Cole, who's a state champion in his own right, and he's been teaching an MMA wrestling class. And like, I can confidently say, like, I can wrestle now. Like, if somebody, my Justin McDonald fight,
Yeah.
we went 5 rounds, and I lost because he just out-wrestled me to death. Like, we run that back as pros. He's about to make his pro debut. If that's one of the ones that I'd like back as pros,
Right.
when it counts, that fight's going to go very different, because he is not going to just wrestle me for five, or as pros 3 rounds. Like, it's not happening.
If that name sounds familiar, I did the stand-in on the podcast when we interviewed Justin
Yeah.
with Jason. So.
Yeah.
That's right. You working with Jason still?
Yeah, I mean, we're cool. We
Yeah.
just don't, like,
Just busy,
he's doing his
man.
thing, I'm doing my thing, and we're just busy, yeah.
I know every now and then he shows a card, and I'm like, ooh, that card looks bad.
Yeah,
He's
dude.
like,
They got
come
some
talk
cool
to me.
cars. Yeah, but yeah, he's doing his thing in the car dealership. I'm doing my thing, and we still talk probably, multiple times a week.
And doing great in the commentary area.
Yeah.
He's really, it's really interesting. I give a lot of credit to Blake Arulian, who's
Yeah.
like our head guy,
Yeah.
and Blake's such a freaking professional that Jason's like, if he's putting in this much work to it, we just talked about this a couple weeks ago. Jason's like, how serious he takes this, and puts the least that I can do is come a little bit prepared and take
Right.
it serious too, and it's just made the whole broadcast experience just so much better. Jason's getting very good at it.
Very, very good. I'm very impressed.
Shoehead. Or Shoehead
He's
brother.
a shoehead, huh?
Yeah.
He's a
Shoehead
shoehead.
brother.
Every once in a while,
So
it's
is
like,
homeboy. Look at him. He's got this.
Dude, I worked at Foot Locker for 2 years.
oh, there you go.
I had more shoes than my wife did when we got married. I had a whole spare bedroom full of J's.
Yeah, speaking of the fights, homeboy here.
Yeah.
You went to the
I'm sad to
fight.
say, at 42 years old, that's my first UFC event. I didn't get to go to the last one that made it.
This one was worth it.
Oh, dude.
That's so funny because that's what he said.
So I've been to a Bellator. I've been to a Pride event.
Yeah.
I've been to a UFC. I haven't been to a one yet. I'd love to make it,
Dude,
so the experience first off, I paid.
Daddy paid.
for tickets, and I sat down. I was like, oh my God, okay, well, this is what you get.
Yeah,
when you
yeah.
pay. And I was like, oh, we're set. The kid sits next to me. He's all, hello, little Mexican fella. I'm like, hey, let me just ask you, just for shits and grins. I'm like, what did you pay for these seats? He's
Yeah.
all, I buy them on the pre-sale. And he sounded just like that.
Hey, take it easy.
Yeah. Sorry. He
says.
says, I bought them on the pre-sale.
It's like perfect.
Yeah, you get that. He's like, I bought them on the pre-sale, $400. And I went, well, fuck. Yeah, I didn't buy them on the pre-sale. She's like, what did you pay? I says, well, you triple that. Yeah, that's what I ended up paying. So,
I'm going to give a little sneak preview on this. I learned my lesson. So, I learned this last year. So, everybody is terrified because the event's going to sell out, right? Everybody is terrified that they're going to miss out on going. So, they buy tickets right when they go, when they're at their peak. I have buddies that came. They got their tickets 2 hours before the event started in the lower bowl and paid less than half of what I did.
See, and I kind of knew that.
So if your goal is just to be in the lower bowl, the only thing is the most you can buy is 8 tickets, right? So if you're trying to buy 8 tickets to go with a group, you're probably going to have to pay the price for that.
Right.
To all sit together. But if you're just looking for like 2 tickets or 4 tickets or just a one-off because you just want to be there, you could wait till whatever. Because the UFC has a nice little streak of sellouts going on pay-per-view
Absolutely,
cards,
yeah.
and they want to keep it going. And if it's not selling out, they will drop those prices.
I thought that, and I thought, but what if I don't get it?
Yeah.
You'll get in the building.
And I was like, well, I'm going to go no matter what. So I bit the
That's
dog.
not enough, Zach. Getting in the building is not enough.
I bit the dog and I took it.
I was on the 15th row. We paid for it, Like, it is what it is. I took my kid and...
I was going to say, how was it taking your son?
Well, that for me, that was it, right? Like, I could have been fine in the nosebleeds. Like,
right.
But, we got rid of our jazz season tickets a couple years ago. We just don't do that as much stuff anymore. And so for me, it's like he still talks about watching Leon Edwards head kick Usman to all of his buddies. He was there. He's going to remember that for the rest of his life. And I'm just like, a fight like Gaethje Poirier, we might not. People don't understand, like, when I said, like at least if this was the first one, you made it count. Utah, and from what I understand, they're coming every year for...
That's what they said, right?
Like, I believe Ryan Smith said that he's signed a lifetime deal with the UFC, so they're coming to the Delta Center every year indefinitely. Excuse me.
Do you think it helps because of the culture that Utah has? And I'm not saying like MMA culture, because that has a lot to do with it, but this isn't California.
Yeah.
And the way politically and the way things are, right? And after that thing we talked about earlier, the sickness or whatever they call it, right? You saw a trend of Vegas, Texas, Florida, and they come to Utah. And 9 months later, they come to Utah because it's
Idaho's going up right now. Montana.
It's just and I'm so proud that as a state we are like, okay, we've embraced it now, because now like you're gonna get a sellout amount. We're gonna get a card like 299.91 was.
So it's not even just the sellout, right? It's that. So you've never been to another UFC event?
No.
When I went to T-Mobile Arena to my first UFC event, Chris Cyborg was the headliner. The co-main event was Frankie Edgar, Brian Ortega. Sick card, super fun. I get there for the very first fight. I'm not kidding you. You were there for the early prelims. There's 1,000 people in there.
Oh.
That place was ghost town. I mean, it was like an empty Maverick Center.
That's one thing. That's one thing he's saying. He's like, I'm gonna open the door.
I was there as soon as the door opened. I was there.
Yeah, for
I was
that
there.
price,
For
if I'm paying that much, you better believe it.
And I told my wife that because I watch every UFC event, and when I watch the early prelims, like a lot of people there. I was so surprised with how many people were there.
So that's why they came back this year, is because last year that place was like, and Dana said this place was like 60-70% full for the early prelims. He goes, nowhere else is like that. No, nowhere else in the United States is like that. When they go to Brazil and stuff, but the arenas are way smaller, right? But when they go to these other places, like around the country, like that's kind of the thing, is like, oh, the main card starts at 8. We don't really care about the prelims. When the Utah crowd shows up and at the early prelims, wouldn't you say that place was probably 80-90% full?
Oh, absolutely.
For the early prelims, the UFC goes, they love us that much. we're going to keep coming back, and we're going to put on a freaking awesome card. I mean, they were talking about putting, if they could have got the deal done, John Jones, Stipe Miocic was going to come to Salt Lake City if they could have gotten that deal done earlier. Now those guys are fighting later this year, and that's great. But and I mean, they literally wanted to give us a pay-per-view, a banging card that before we lost Paulo Costa off the card, before we lost Wonder Boy off the card, there was literally 7 fights on the card that could all be main events for fight nights.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And this card was stacked. Bonfim is, to me, the scariest welterweight prospect in the UFC. People talk about Ian Gary. He's very good. Bonfim's the truth. That dude is going to be contending for titles in the near future. And they brought a card like that here. It's because we show up. We show up for the whole thing. We go nuts. We support. The tickets were absurdly priced. We didn't care. We just paid it and we came. I mean, you check all the boxes, and as a promoter, I understand that too. Man, it's like, if we could get that type of support at the Maverick Center for Fierce cards, where people wanted to come, let's say an extra 500 people came. Our crowds are like 1,500, 2,000 people, about 2,000 people in the arena, right? Between the sponsors and the tickets purchased and everything like that. If we got another like 500 to 1,000 people in there, the current setup, you've been there with the current setup with the curtain drop, it fits about 4,500 people. Right. If we could get close to that, do you know the type of talent that we could bring in to put on? Like we could bring in more fighters that aren't from here, even, to just highlight some of the best talent in the country here at our home state. And so, like, when a crowd comes and supports a promotion like that, the promotion in turn now goes, cool, we want to reward, if they're going to be fantastic fans.
Jesus Christ. Well, once every 2-3 months?
Yeah.
But when the crowd comes and supports, then the promotion goes, great. You're going to come support us like this. We're going to come back, bring back banger card after banger card for you. And, I love that the UFC does that. And they do. They do that for the crowds and the places that show up for them.
Shout out to Ryan Smith for really embracing what, obviously what he's done with the Jazz. Not to say that, because without the Millers, we wouldn't have what we have now, right? But the fact that we're kind of out of and I'm going to say this lightly, the old ownership age to a young kid that fucking loves sports, that loves MMA.
He's Mark Cuban.
It's perfect. It's a perfect example right there.
He's what Mark Cuban was when he came into the league, 25 years ago.
And I love the fact that a lot of people probably didn't see this. Dana's on vacation.
He's in Italy.
So at the presser, he sat down. He talked for 25, 30 minutes and just sit and listen to him talk to the press about Utah and the way this is. I was like, we got one. Dude,
and by the way, too, if, you watch all the UFC events. Yeah. I watch all the UFC events, and I watch all the press conferences.
It's my favorite thing the next thing in the morning.
Is you get I usually stay up that night and watch
the
press conference. Oh, yeah. My wife's like,
I'm usually so drunk. I'm at home, I'm drunk. I'm like, I'll get it in the morning. Yeah. As soon as I wake up at 7, I watch the press conference.
You watch the press conference. But post-fight interviews, social media, the fighters that fought here, post-fight interviews, and the press conference. Nobody gets love from fighters the way that Salt Lake did with the fighters that were here. Yeah. Like, all the fighters were like, this was incredible. It's beautiful. Love it here. The fans were great. Everybody, the city's clean. It's beautiful. Like, it is. Like, we live in an incredible
We've
place.
known this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's like best kept secret. It's like, no, stay in California, dude. You guys don't come. You're going to come. It's like, I'll never forget. You guys watch when The Undertaker was on Joe Rogan podcast?
Yes.
Yeah, I did.
Yes.
Yeah, and Joe Rogan and Undertaker was like, Mark Calloway is like, no, for real, you guys, like, all you Californians, like, quit coming to Texas. You're going to make us like California. Like, you're trying to turn us in when you just left. Like, no. But no, it's special here,
Yeah. I'm glad that finally we're starting to get the clout that I feel like we've deserved for so long. Because if you remember back in the day, we were supposed to get John Jones way back in the day.
did.
Way back in the day.
12 years ago.
So as a fight night, right?
Yeah.
As a fight night.
Yeah.
But we got a fight night, and it was at the Maverick Center, right?
No, I think it was at Vivint.
I swear to God, it was a Maverick. But I could be wrong. But it was like after that,
he's being our producer.
I'll figure it out.
We
for
just
you.
didn't. I mean, we had a dry spell forever,
Yeah.
for years and years and years, and finally when we're like, oh, we got one, and how big the last UFC event. I didn't get to go, so I couldn't tell you the energy of it, but there was just something different.
Well, but let me ask you this. Let me ask both of you, since you're
I'm gonna pull it up.
I'm
Pulling it up. Sorry.
since you're in the promoting business.
Yeah.
What made the UFC?
Vivint.
It was a vivid.
What made the UFC say, "Oh, let's check out there"?
Right.
Because to me, obviously, I'm not in that world, as much as you guys are. But to me, it came right after
COVID.
All Star.
Oh, you know, but it was before All Star. We had last year was before All Star.
Was before
Then it was All Star, and then the latest.
Okay,
one, yeah.
so for the UFC to say, let's go see what's in there. What do you think made it though?
So there's a lot of factors. One, Utah's kind of a hotbed for the tech world,
Yeah.
right? Tech money brings, tech companies bring tech money. Tech money brings big dollars. Big dollars means big sponsorships, big networking deals, things like that. Partners that the UFC is trying to rub shoulders with. That's a big deal for the UFC to come here, make some of those connections, probably pick up some, multi-year, multi-million-dollar sponsors. To be honest,
I didn't even think about that.
I mean, that's what Ryan Smith brings to the table is his connections into tech, right?
Right.
One, he's just a freaking cool guy. I mean, okay, let's be honest. 15 years ago, if you said, hey, guess what? Jazz are going to have a new owner. He's going to bring Dwayne Wade as part of the partnership group into Salt Lake City. You'd have been like, get out of here, man. No way. No, he's a very charismatic
One of the most
guy.
loved guys in the NBA.
Yeah.
Dwayne Wade, right?
Who got offered an ownership stake, the same deal with the Miami Heat. They went to match it, and he chose Ryan Smith and the Jazz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, either he's got some naked pictures or something, but I mean, like, what? I mean, explain that. No,
Right.
he's just that cool of a dude. So, I mean, when you say why Utah, why Salt Lake City, one, I think the business opportunities it presents for the UFC in the tech world. Two, for those that don't know, we have, and I work with him on a weekly basis. His name's Scott Buller. He's the head of the ABC Rules and Officials Committee for the unified rules for MMA in this country. He's the president of that board, and he runs our athletic commission here. He's the guy, dark hair, glasses that was at the UFC weigh-ins reading out the weights at the weigh-ins or whatever. He's cage side at all the local events and whatever. That dude's been around forever. He has tons of connections. So, the UFC, he carries weight in the MMA world.
Oh, okay.
No doubt about it. And when, and if the UFC calls and says, hey, like, what do you think about coming to Salt Lake? Like, they're going to call him and get his opinion on it. And if he says, absolutely, come to Salt Lake, like, this is a great market for you guys. I mean, I don't think I'm speaking out of turn here, but I would assume stuff like that. I mean, we're really lucky to have the athletic commission that we do here. We did a couple shows this year up in Idaho, and oh my gosh, did it make me grateful for the Utah Athletic Commission.
Really?
Because I don't have great things to say about the Idaho Athletic Commission.
Better than New York?
Yeah, just because New York doesn't know what they're doing. They
That's
don't
what.
care
That's
either.
what. So there's
Idaho's very similar to New
Nevada,
York, though.
right? The Nevada, and then there's the New York. I was just wondering where Idaho kind of fit in there.
Utah's top of the food chain.
That's it, huh?
I mean, I'm telling you, like, man, we have so many fighters that come fight here, and we don't just have one promotion that's fantastic here for fighters. We have 3 now.
Right.
Steel Fist does a really good job highlighting a lot of amateurs. We wanted to play our part in that, and that's why we started our Challenger series,
Yeah.
where that are mostly amateur shows at smaller venues. We have our Maverick Center, and Crown's going to put on 2 fantastic shows a year in Southern Utah every year. But at the end of the day, like, you know, as promoters, we all do our job and try and put on a good show. Obviously, for one, I think we all have a love for MMA, and we want to do what's right by the sport. I mean, I know our goal is, we just had a meeting about it. It's like, you know, if something were to ever happen to Fierce and it went away, like, where would the pros fight in Utah?
Yeah.
They wouldn't. They'd have to go
Yeah.
somewhere else. They'd never have the opportunity to fight in front of their family and friends and stuff like that, or very, very limited opportunities
Right.
too. And we're talking like not even once a year. So we all are trying to do our job, but I think one thing that makes us all really good and well-ran profession is the athletic commission that oversees us. Like, they let us know, like, we have high standards here. Like, they don't just let us do whatever we want and make, you know, like, you don't see just these like lopsided matchups and stuff like that, because, you know, you don't see guys like, there's a beloved guy. They're all over, right? That, hey, I need a guy to take the fight. He doesn't even care if he wins or loses. Just give him a paycheck and he'll show up.
Right.
We don't get those a ton here, because it's more important for the integrity of the sport than it is just to fill a match. And Scott Bowler's a big reason why MMA is doing so well.
And
in Utah.
thank God that they don't do that, because all that does is just set the sport back.
Like, I mean, Montana doesn't have an athletic commission, so a lot of promotions like to go up there and either do unsanctioned fights or bring up the Wyoming Athletic Commission, who I think they do an okay job and everything, but it's not like I don't think there's I think everybody there, yeah, I'll say it, I don't care. They're just trying to make some money, and they don't really care about like what's best for the sport.
Right.
And I think everybody in Utah right now is playing a very important role for the growth of MMA in Utah.
Let me ask you this: for somebody who is as ignorant as I am, I like to see the events. I like to see 2 people beat the shit out of each other. I don't know the technicalities. I don't know the rules. I don't know nothing. What is it? Fighting? What is it? The commission? What is it? What did you just said? The athletic
Commission.
commission. Is that something that it's in Utah before UFC?
Yeah.
And so that
It's a state. It's ran by the state. So
it's like
the board.
state rules when it comes to fighting.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So we've accepted the ABC Unified Rules, which is like most athletic commissions have now.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, those standards are set by Scott Bowler and that board. I believe the last president of the board was in a completely different state, and he was just on the board. And now I think he's the head of that board. So, yeah. So like those rules that.
But give me an example for, like, you just said you went to Idaho.
Yeah.
So what's something that it's better that we do here that they don't do in Idaho, for example?
For one, the people, we went up to Idaho because they opened up this beautiful venue, the Mountain America Center.
That was brand new.
And they said, hey, our fans here want MMA. So
Yeah.
the people in Idaho want MMA. Well, the people on Capitol Hill up in Idaho, they don't think MMA is a good thing. Okay. So they literally charge such high fees that they don't want us to be there. Mm. And I'm sitting there going, I'm like, but your taxpayers do.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, not to get too political here, but it's like their job is to represent the people, not their own old school, get off my lawn, old man agendas. Yeah. Right. And so if the people want an MMA show in Eastern Idaho, or in Boise, Boise has Front Street Fights. It's a pretty decent show, you know. And the people want it, like so the MMA and combat sports gets zero funding from taxpayer dollars. Zero. Gets zero support, right? So because of that, it costs us 6 times the amount to put on a show in Idaho that it does to put on here, because the promotion has to pay the fees to make sure that the athletic commission can pay their inspectors and pay all that. They make us pay the judges. They make us pay the refs. Those fees are high. We have to pay for their travel. The licenses for the fighters are out of control up there. For an amateur fighter, you have to pay $100 just to get a license to fight, where in Utah it's only $50. Corners, whether it's for a pro or amateur fight, each have to pay $150 for their
Holy
license,
shit.
where here it's only like $50 or $60. I mean, you're talking for an amateur fighter to go up there and just compete. It's $400 in licenses for him and his 2 corners. Or if it's a title fight and they get 3 corners, then it's $550. That's absurd. I mean, they're literally trying to price themselves out of the market, but their fans want it so bad that they're begging us to come up there. So we've gone up there and we're trying to figure out how we can make it work and grow. And I've asked their athletic commission, I'm like, hey man, like what can we do to get more reasonable fees or like get more reasonable whatever? And they're just like, wait for those people to leave office. And it's just like, it just sucks. But in Utah, because I believe because of the people like Scott Bowler and stuff like that, we get good state funding. So the license fees are reasonable. The fees to the promotions are reasonable, so that, where we pay our fee to have them come and oversee the event, it's very reasonable. Things like that. And just, rules, like sometimes rules need to evolve and get better. Head kicks weren't allowed in amateur for years. That recently changed. Me, a couple other fighters kind of fought for that, and Scott Bowler helped advocate for us. Like, this is a good thing to allow head kicks for amateurs because for whatever reason. And he's just very progressive with growing the sport. They just passed the THC law. Like before, Utah used to be a zero tolerance. Idaho's was a zero tolerance till just barely, but Utah was a zero tolerance on THC and weed. Now it's same as Nevada, where basically your limits is like basically is you're not hot if you're not getting
going in the cage.
If you're not smoking within like 48 hours, like your level shouldn't be high enough to fail.
Right.
So and things like that Scott's just done a fabulous job of making MMA better.
Yeah. I was listening to an interview, and they had was with you. They had Jorge Masvidal on there with his with the game bred fighting, and that I was maybe out of ignorance because I will watch a lot of events, but I guess I hadn't paid attention, and he talked about the event that they have where Junior Dos Santos is going to fight Verdum, right? And he's all, but it's no gloves. I'm like, bare knuckle boxing. He was like, no,
bare knuckle MMA.
it's
baby.
MMA. It's bare knuckle MMA. I'm like, wait a second, what? And even the guys that were interviewing, it was Brian Callen and Brendan Schaub. They're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
They had no idea. I was like, yo, you're taking this out. And he said, when we go to Colorado in December, soccer kicks are allowed.
Yeah. So one thing that's really interesting about that is, ONE FC just came and did an event in Denver.
Yeah,
right?
and killed it.
And did you watch that event?
I did watch the event.
It was so fun. It was so fantastic.
The fact that it was normal time here, I actually got to watch it tonight.
I mean, you want to know how big of a nerd I am. I'll wake up in the middle of the night and watch
them
events in the middle of the night in Singapore. But so they did that, and I know for a fact they got reprimanded for allowing the ONE FC rule kick, which allows soccer kicks and knees to down opponents and stuff like that.
Really?
By the ABC. Yeah, because Colorado, let's be honest, you're a big fan, right? Even as a casual fan, you said you love to watch two people beat the crap out of each other. What's the one thing we're all scared is going to happen?
Somebody's going to get fucking killed.
Somebody's going to die in that cage.
Yeah.
Right? Like every time somebody gets knocked out cold, there was one, Alex Pereira.
Yeah.
His last LFA fight, he hit a dude with a check hook and slept him, and he was asleep for 5 minutes. And after 3 minutes of that dude not moving, I'm like, did we just watch that dude die in the cage? That's not gonna be a good deal, right? Those rules are there to protect the fighters.
Right.
There's some people that's just I'm more of the opinion of, we know what we signed up for.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But at the same time, if a death happens in that cage, there's going to be
repercussions,
serious repercussions
Yeah.
from a government and political standpoint, where athletic commissions are going to get really scrutinized again, and they're going to, we're going to go back to, okay, what can we do to make this sport safer? Well, here's the thing. It's not safe.
No, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Not,
Like,
absolutely
and
not.
so and then the government's. But if somebody dies on national television in a cage,
How many times do we see? I'm just saying it. Boxers.
happens.
It happens, right?
But usually not in the ring.
Afterwards.
So,
afterwards.
and it's usually because they've broken protocols. Like the last one that died last year, I believe, he got knocked out. And then he took another fight under an alias the next weekend. Even though he was on medical suspension,
Right.
took another fight and got around it. Got knocked out again. Died
And
the
then
next
died
day.
after the fact.
Died the next day. It's like, yeah, dude, you get slept twice in 7 days and you have an internal brain bleed and you don't go get it checked out and you get knocked out again. You're gonna.
So do you think that knowing that, because this is all new to me, knowing that there might be a change of the tide before December happens?
I'm just very curious, and you know what? Maybe Denver and maybe their political body there is comfortable with the ABC unified rule set disapproving of what they're doing, and they're willing to deal with the consequences if they happen.
Dude, shout out to fucking Denver for being the gangsters of MMA. So we go back to the first UFC. Where do you think it was at?
Denver.
Denver, right? You talk about watching a guy.
The very
where-
first one?
Yeah.
Watching a guy where you thought he died, and I play this in my mind all the time when I was this fucking tall, and I watched the first UFC fight on video cassette that I ever saw, and I watched fucking Paul Herrera fight Gary Goodrich, and he got in that crucifix on his side, and he went wham, wham,
Straight
wham,
to the
in
side of the
between.
head.
His head was right here, and I said, "Oh, I'm 10 years old. I just watched a guy die on videotape. No wonder I had to coax an 18-year-old at Movie Buffs to go buy this next to all the porno tapes. It changed my life forever. It absolutely made my heart stop. I was like, I'll never be the same again. But then I fueled it. It was like, well, how do you get out of that? How do you avoid that?
Yeah.
That's what got me, But you're right. You have to, and I'm not a fighter. I'm just assuming this. You almost have to protect the fighters because you don't know if they're going to protect themselves.
They won't.
Right?
We won't. I will say this: we won't. I remember. Where was I watching? I was watching a fight where the coach threw in the towel to protect his fighter, and I remember going and telling to my coach, I said, "If you ever throw in the towel on me, you will never corner me again."
I wonder that. I always wonder that.
Don't you dare. Let me go out. Let me go out on my shield. Like, that's the way we're wired.
But are you almost too tough for your own good?
So be it. Like, that's what I signed up for. I mean, so
This motherfucker's a gunslinger out here.
I'm not.
His wife's
I
all,
want to make
"What?"
this. I want to make this very, very clear. I'm nothing special in that world. I think that's how
You
I
just
would
have
say
that mentality.
98% of us are.
Yeah, you just have that mentality.
You know, like there's a code amongst fighters, and you know what? If you are responsible enough to, as a man, to say like this is a bad spot for me, and like you're gonna tap to strikes or whatever, yeah, like that's frowned upon in the fighter community. Like, I'm sorry, but like I'll say it right, you'll never see me tap to strikes. You're not gonna see me just tap to just like anything. Like, I have to know that either I'm gonna get severely injured, like cripple myself, or break something or tear something, and I still might not tap. Like, I have a lingering injury because I want to tap at the gym once, which is just stupid and pigheaded. But I mean, a competition in front of a crowd of people and my kid and stuff, like it's not happening. I'm never gonna get to that point where I'm like, I give up.
Right.
No, you'll have to kill me. Like, that's just the way it is, and that's the way I think a lot of fighters, that's the energy they bring into there. So as a promoter, there's a fine balance there, right? Of like, I have to be very respectful and respect that, you got to do what's in the best interest of those fighters. But when I put that mouth guard in and I have gloves on, I'm a fighter now, and it's, you let me go out on my shield, or else, like, we're, I've told that to refs in the back. I've told that to a ref. I'm like, do not stop a fighter. I've had a fight stopped early before. Like, don't do it to me, man.
Did you see yourself 5 years ago in the spot where you're in right now?
No.
As arguably, and I say that arguably is in big quotations, as one of the biggest local fight promotions, and we don't even say local because it's a traveling league, right? Being the main matchmaker
No, I didn't even know it was.
was a thing.
No, I didn't. 5 years ago, I barely knew what Fierce Fighting Championship was.
Right.
5 years ago, Fierce Fighting Championship was just in Price, Utah.
Right.
And the only thing I knew about it is Jordan Chandler, a pro from One Hit MMA, took his retirement fight in Price, Utah, to go down and fight for Cody because he had that much respect for him. I mean, big shout out to Jordan Chandler. A big reason why I took the position I did with Fierce is I reached out to Jordan, who had fought for multiple promotions around, and Jordan was like, Cody's a great dude. You can trust him. Like, if he has something for you, I would encourage you to go work with him.
Right.
He's a really good dude, and that's somebody that you definitely want to.
How did you even get approached? Because I mean, there's a ton of MMA guys here in Utah, right? How did you even get approached for this opportunity?
I mean, there's a lot behind the scenes to it that some of it I'll leave behind the scenes, but basically the gist of it is during COVID nothing was happening, and then Fierce tried to do a show at the Maverick Center that the health department shut down.
I remember that
48 hours before our show. And I was supposed to fight Johan Rubio on that show for the Fierce Amateur 185.
Shout out to a former
Shout
guest.
out. We've had him here.
Johan's the man.
Yeah.
I watched him fight a couple times then, and I'm just like, thank goodness we didn't fight. Like, that's just a freaking
Shout out
beast.
to him. Yeah, he's been here.
We've sparred since, like now we've sparred and stuff, and that's fun. And
He was one of his sponsored guys. He was
It's funny because I used to have a screen printing business with one of my friends, and he was like a quote unquote our model, like way back when he was like fighting. We got pictures on our pages of him like all posing with our shirts and shit. And then when he came in, I was like, do you remember being in this building before? He goes, oh yeah, and this. I'm like, yeah, that was me. And he goes, oh shit, it was a cool story. Small Lake City.
So I'm supposed to be cutting weight, and I'm cutting in weight, and I get the text message like, hey, the Maverick Center and the health department just canceled the show. And I would like to make that very, very, very clear. Cody was prepared to do whatever to make that show happen. I've heard from multiple sources he begged the Maverick Center and the health department not to do this because he knew how much work we'd put in, and he was trying to be part of that. Like, let's quit being afraid. Like, what are we afraid of? Like, we have to get back to normal life. And he was trying to push that, and the Maverick Center is ultimately the venue that held the event, and they said finally, they just said, through the health department's recommendation, like, we're canceling the event, and it sucked. Well, they rescheduled the event, so that was supposed to happen, I want to say in November, and they rescheduled the event for February, March.
I gotta go to the bathroom. Keep going.
Okay. They rescheduled the event for February, March, and I just wasn't in a place where I could fight right then. I had personal stuff going on, and fighting just wasn't in the picture for me and my home life at that time. So Cody just said, hey, do you want to, like, you do a really good job on the podcast. Do you want to come be our play-by-play guy and do the pay-per-view thing? So, sure, man. And so I did that with Sean O'Connell, and it was a freaking blast, and I loved it. And he's like, dude, you killed it. Like, you're our guy. You do it. I was like, great, this is cool. And then I did express to him. I expressed to him, and I expressed to, just as I had expressed to Steelfist too, like, hey, I kind of want to like learn the business a little bit, matchmaking, whatever, and we talked about it, and ultimately it came down to I even looked into starting my own promotion.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Me and Jason actually at one point looked into starting our own promotion with my other guy, Sage and Champneys, who I do everything with. We talked about it. I talked to a few people that have some money that were willing to financially back it and get it off the ground and going, that are big MMA fans here in Utah. And whatever. was trying to get some things going. Maybe, you know, I had a good relationship at the time with Steel Fist, trying to get things going. But at the end of the day, like, Steel Fist, they have their business model and they're really good at what they do.
Yeah, absolutely.
They didn't need me. You know, if I'm
Yeah.
just being totally honest, like, I don't know if I totally, like, I don't even know if I would have even brought that much value to their show, because they kind of do what they do and they're good at what they do.
Right.
And they fit a really, they have their niche in the market and they're good.
Yeah. I love the fact that you're so fucking respectful to all the other organizations. Like, it shows a true businessman, and to Fierce Fighting Championship, you know, just the kind of business that you run, because at the end of the day, you all know the value of competition when it comes to a broader spectrum of MMA. So, not to cut you off, I just wanted to tell you that how much I respect that, and how humble you talked about all the other organizations and other fighters. It's refreshing to hear.
But I mean, and it's the truth. I wouldn't say it if I didn't mean it. But at the end of the day, too, I talk to Cody and stuff, and you know, he has another you know, real job, real business that he runs, and he's like, man, I need a guy, and I basically is like, you know, like, I would love to be your guy, but I got a team that I'm bringing with me too. Like, I have these people that I want to do this with. And Sajan's, he's been, we owned a car detailing business together forever. And he's just been like my best friend that I can rely on in ways that just, you know, just like a real brother to me. And that's meant so much, that relationship. It's just like, I wasn't really interested in doing anything without him, right? Yeah. And so when he got interested, and he's not an MMA guy, but like, he's come to some of my fights, like, that was about it. And so, like, when we had this opportunity, and Cody's like, I want to bring you in to do this, you know, that's kind of, and he's like, so at first it was like, hey, can you help, you know, match these fights? This is what we're trying to do. I was like, sure. So I started doing my thing, you know, and I'm just like, and I mean, you know, try to not a humble, you know, this isn't going to sound like super humble or anything, but like, I think I'm freaking good at matchmaking. Yeah. Like, there's an art to matchmaking. It's not just about throwing two guys that are the same weight class together. It's about things that make sense. And, you know, like, I mean, we have our August card, right? And I have scenarios for every single person that's fighting on that card, win or lose, of where they go next and when.
Oh, so you're thinking 2 or 3 events ahead.
That's what matchmaking does.
Right.
I mean, that's what it is. I mean, I freaking, through the advice of Scott Bowler, I read a book by Vince McMahon about storytelling, you know, about the WWE and their model of, you know, building people towards each other. You know how they do it every year. Right now, the big build is Jey Uso and Roman Reigns and the WWE, and you build this amazing storyline that sucks people in. Dude, you can do that with MMA.
But it's so much easier when you write the script.
Sure, but it can still be done with MMA as long as you're flexible, you have a good imagination, and there's options, right? For example,
oh, dude, my dick is so hard. Listen, I'm so sorry. Just the business aspects of the whole thing, right?
Sure. But I mean, for example, you know, Jerome Hatch and Mike Jones. Now, granted, right? Mike Jones can win this fight and get signed to the PFL or Bellator and be gone, right? One and done with us. Yeah. He could win this fight and he could fight. You know, we could bring in another top tier prospect for him to defend this title with. He could lose this fight and decide, for whatever reason, I want a rematch with Jerome at that. Well, we got to get a win for, you know, like, we have all these scenarios. So I have all these scenarios. So from winning, losing, never fighting for us again, some names of who he'd fight if he won, some names of who he'd fight. Like, we have different storylines that we build down.
Right.
And every once in a while, we catch lightning in a bottle, and the preferred storyline starts happening, and we can start building people together. I mean, I'll say this: Jerome Hatch, if he wins this fight, I mean, he has the call out of all call outs coming, and I'm not going to spoil it. You got to come to the Maverick Center on August 26th to see it, but he's going to call somebody out and everybody's jaw is going to drop. And if you think Jerome Hatch versus Mike Jones is big, wait till you hit that call out. I mean, but, you know, if Jerome loses too, he still has a contract with Bare Knuckle Boxing.
Yeah.
who he just controversially lost his belt in.
Yeah.
And he's got to go fulfill that, and then he'll come back for us probably first of next year or whatever. And he's still our 205 champion, can defend that. Like, and I'm just talking about one matchup. I have that scenario.
An entire card, huh?
I have that scenario for almost every card, down to the two kids that are kicking off the card are 145 amateur debuters. Like, it's that's the business of it. And so
I would love to see the whiteboard.
He's a scheduler.
Fucking, you're a scheduler.
Yeah, that's what he is.
Dude, I have a
'Cause that's
giant,
what we are.
I have a giant whiteboard that covers my whole wall. Right? And I have right now I have our August card, I have our September card, I have our October card, I have our November card, I have our January date, I have a projected February date. And I have people that have asked me to be on those cards, and I've just
Long-term scheduling, dude.
Yeah, I only schedule 3 weeks ahead. So
That's smart. I wish I could, But it's what I do, and I think it's what's causing. It's a big part of why Fierce is growing the way that it's growing.
Absolutely.
And Cody's just. I've said it before in other interviews. Like, he's just giving me the keys to the Ferrari and giving me the freedom to go build these cards and the confidence in me to do that. And like I said, very respectfully, I don't feel like Steel Fist needed me, I'm a builder. I want to build something massive, and I want to build something that it's going to be around a lot longer than I am.
yeah,
And I want to leave an imprint on MMA in Utah, and that's not going to get it done as a fighter as much as I wish it would. Mm-hmm. But I can leave a lasting impact in building Fierce into something that makes. There's no reason why Utah can't become like the second fight capital of the world, this close to Las Vegas.
Right.
Because we have the gyms here, we have the talent here, we have the fighters here. We literally have everything here, but we need that mainstay promotion that features professional fighters, full cards with professional fighters on them, at a venue like the Maverick Center. There's not very many other promotions in the country that are doing what we're doing right now.
right. Gives me chills just talking about it. And one more. My guy, Trevor Bradshaw.
Back, baby.
By the way, if you're listening, I butt dialed you the other day, and I apologize. And he's gonna go, this motherfucker who. First off, we've never met.
Really?
But we've talked back and forth on
you
text.
dialed. Did you hear me?
But so his tattoo artist, or we have a tattoo artist together,
yeah.
right? So I'm like, what the fuck is calling me? I'm like, why would he be calling me? And I missed the call, and I kind of went through the log. I'm like, well, because I butt dialed him. But he was supposed to come on the podcast. It didn't work out, and obviously,
Dude, he needs to.
Get
him on before August 26th, please.
I've been a huge fan of his. I mean, the fact that he went to, that's my guy. I always root for him. But anyway, shout out. Sorry I butt dialed you,
Hey,
but I appreciate the phone call back.
You should before August 26th. You might be able to pull it off.
I'll hit him up. He'll come on.
He's
It's an MMA related month, dude.
he's
is.
dude. Here's the thing.
And Jackson wants to come on.
Yeah, Hoops.
Jackson Hoops?
Oh yeah,
He
yeah.
was out there in
I
the
met him.
parking lot.
Yeah, I met him and
Make some
he's
noise.
like, put me
baby.
on the podcast. I was like, yeah.
Dude, he's that's my guy too. I mean,
And I have to say this before I forget. I have a friend. We have a friend that I work with who has kind of got me in. I'm starting to get in touch with, in my opinion, one of the greatest MMA managers in the world, right? And so my buddy Carlos, shout out to Carlos. He's like, yo, I got you a book. The book's not released. I got you a book.
Can
It's
you
on its
say
way.
this?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I got you a book. It's on its way. He delivers me this book. I'm like, oh, so I open it up. He signed it to me and everything. And you know me.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'm in awe. And so I get on and I look. Who's friends with Zack on Facebook? Monty Cox. So I got the book and I'm going through it.
He's
And
looking at you all pissed off. I haven't gotten the book.
Dumbfounded. In the old, we're going back to the old. Shout out my man Pat Miletich.
Yeah.
We're going way back.
oh yeah.
And it's just the way that you read this and you see where we are here now. It makes me proud that the sport I love so much is just just thriving right now. So
It's thriving.
and guys like you, said,
Yeah.
to leave an imprint on the sport to where your kids and your grandkids can enjoy Fierce Fighting Championship and what you've brought to the state. So I really admire what you're doing.
I mean, and I don't want to take like that credit for it. It's like it's Cody, right? He's the one that brought it to the Maverick Center. He's the one that's making it all happen.
And
like
I
in
truly,
our team, like
I truly, I agree with that. But a pit crew works together to build.
I mean, we're on it together. I definitely don't want to act like it's like I'm doing this, but I definitely have a hand in the team that's doing it.
You're
right?
a part of the deck of cards,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Because there's so many people that like Jackson, dude. People don't even know this. Like Jackson, freaking. So we needed a guy. Cody was like, man, we need a guy. Do you know anybody? And I'm like, dude, I got the guy. He's the guy. I sit in an insurance office with him. He freaking plays his drums all night. He's obsessed. Like, dude, this dude is the guy. And
he's like, very energetic.
And Cody even warned me. He's like, man, like, I brought a friend once that I thought was going to be good. And it kind of bombed. Like, are you sure? I'm like, dude, I'm more sure that he's going to be good at this than I'm going to be, like, able to do this. Like, he'll kill it, right? And dude, he's like, I mean, dude, he comes early. He helps with setup. He helps with takedown. Like,
nice.
Dude, he's a part of the team. Like, he's
the day that I met him, Dre, we were hanging out with Dre. We were watching the fights at the bar, and he introduced me to him. I'm like, oh yeah, like I've seen you in like photos or with Dre or whatever, or in the events. And he goes, yeah. And so I've been talking to him for like half hour, an hour. And he goes, don't I know you? And I said, I'm like, it's the first time I met you. It was just seeing you for the first time, like live in person. And he goes, I've seen you somewhere. And I was like, I don't know. And then he took him another half hour and he goes, wait, were you doing the Spanish thing with Dre? I'm like, oh, Dre Espanol. I'm like, oh yeah, we were together. Yeah. He's like, that's where I know you from. I'm like, oh, that's been dead forever. Yeah. I'm like, oh, that's where you know me. I'm like, yeah. And then Dre's like, oh yeah, we used to do it at the station.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, that's the day that I met him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a drummer boy.
Yeah, we have so many. I mean, we have Jackson. Blake is doing an incredible job with our media. Cody, obviously nothing can happen without us. Sagen, like, it's so funny. We all had press badges, or not press badges, but like credentials up in Idaho. They were just like very secure, like tight down. And so we all had to have like our credentials and stuff. And then we all kind of put like funny little pictures on the back, like our official ones on the front, but then like funny ones on the back. He was Fix It Felix. Cause like, so people don't, Sagen, the hats that this guy wears, he does our website. He does all the updating for the website. He does all the marketing stuff outside of social media. Okay. He does he builds the cage, takes down the cage. We've upgraded the cage, like fixes the cage. Like he just does every odd and end job that needs to be done. And like he's
a handyman.
He's one of the most talented, innovative people I've ever met. And he's just, I mean, like we all kind of like, everybody kind of like drags on that, his generation. Like he's in his like mid-20s now, but like they're like lazy, whatever. Dude, he is like one of the hardest workers I've ever been around. It's like why our paths, like we're the total opposite of people, like different, where we've come from, who we are, like our views on a lot of things. But at the end of the day too, like he's just a worker and I'm just a worker. So like we just vibe that we would just both put our heads down and just grind. Like but yeah, I mean, Jason's been a big part of it. We just have a team that just, Mandy does our sponsors. Like she's doing a phenomenal job bringing sponsors to the show, giving them a experience that you can't really get anywhere else but at an MMA event. Like, right. I mean, you want to wow some people. You're a business owner and you want to wow some customers or some business partners. Come put them cage side at an MMA event. Like you've never seen anything like it. Watching somebody get knocked out or watching two dudes stand toe to toe and just slug it out, and you're 15 feet away from them. Like there's just an energy from that you can't experience anywhere else.
I'm pretty sure where we work, sponsors.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, they do. That's the northern.
Don't say it if you know
Yeah, I
it.
can't say it.
Don't say it if you know it.
We don't say that, but yeah, they sponsor it.
It's okay.
Listen, man, as a person that, like I mentioned before, I just like to see two people just beat the living shit out of each other. I don't know, like I say, I don't know logistics. I don't know rules and you know what I mean? But I do know this, and I do notice this is the fact that I know that I had a couple of guys here coming to our podcast, to our... Or you should have showed him your beer cooler.
I'm like, oh,
show
hey,
your beer cooler.
hey.
So just for me, just to know that we had a couple of guys here on our podcast, and now you guys are basically in charge of this empire that is growing day by day. It makes me feel happy. It makes me feel like, oh yeah, these guys actually have been grinding on what they love, which is the MMA business and the MMA world and community, and now they're in charge of this huge event that it happens once a month, which is not easy. Like actually we do this
so hard.
We do this once a week, and now we work every day. Like we're side by side, and we're podcasting every day, and we still have to come here and do it. And you guys have to do it at a massive scale once a month. I mean, I nothing but props, and
And
it's awesome. It's awesome to know. It's awesome to know that when I see the event, it's a pay-per-view, it's on TV, it's on YouTube, it's everywhere, and I'm like, oh, I know the guys that put that shit together, and that's just.
Yeah,
I mean, you guys should give yourselves a pat on the back.
Yeah, no, and we have and I mean, this is the thing, like, dirty little secret. Like, I'll just air this out. I mean, it's not like, you know why MMA promotions come and go so often? It's because it's not very profitable. Do you know how hard it is to make money doing this? Because I've learned over the last year and a half how hard it is to make money.
Neither is this podcast. Thank you so much for going.
Yeah, for real, right? I learned that too, right? But I mean, like, man, making a profit, running pro show at a venue like the Maverick Center. I think if people saw the bill, of expenses to run a show at the Maverick Center, like, I don't know what number people like thinks in your head.
Yeah, I see the event and I go, oh, Zack must be a millionaire.
Oh yeah,
he's like, I wouldn't be beating the shit out of
popping
myself.
champagn with Mick Maynard and fucking Sean Shelby right now, right?
Yeah, sure, living the dream. No, but man, like the thing that I'm, one of the goal is, I do think some people see that, right? I mean, pull the curtain. I'm going to pull the curtain back here a little bit. I think people do think that they're like, oh, like Fierce is at the Maverick Center. They're probably just raking in all this cash and stuff like that. Dude, you have no idea how expensive it is to put on a show there, pay the fighters, pay all these people that travel in. I mean, we have all these pro fights where it's like, dude, they all want to get paid. And then one thing that's really hard is these fighters put in all this time, right? It's all love of labor, right? Like, if you look at, like, our dollar per hour, I could probably go work at McDonald's and make more money. UPS, make more money. You know what I mean? Like, we could, but I'm working in the field and I'm trying to build something that hopefully one day, and the belief is one day you could do it. But, like, if people think that, like, we're getting rich off doing this, like, I'm sorry, you're losing your minds. It's no different than the fighters who, like, I mean, for example, like, I won't use our organization because it's not the business, but like LFA, LFA, right? Yep. Do you know what their champions make?
I couldn't even tell you.
What do you think their champions make? You got to remember, the UFC baseline now is 12-12.
12-12.
So if you get signed to the UFC, you're going to make a contract a minimum of $12,000 to show, $12,000 to win. What do you think an LFA, who is pretty much like the premier regional show,
it's
that
the feeder league, right?
If you become the LFA champion, you're getting signed by the UFC. For sure, if not that fight, if you defend your belt successfully, like, you're getting signed, right?
To me, if without that build up to you asking me that, and you were to ask me that on the streets, I would say, I don't know, 4-4, 5-5.
Okay, they pay 15-15.
Oh well,
100.
Yeah.
And
that's what the LFA champion makes now. And I will say this, and I'm very proud of this. Both the guys at our main event will make more than that. You know what I mean? Like you want to. But that being said, too, they're not making what they should.
Yeah. Now, isn't
LFA?
Isn't that where UFC gets their fighters from?
A lot of them. But,
one of them.
But man, they can get them from anywhere, right? Like, they're all independent
But I'm saying,
contractors.
like, that's like the last step to get to before you quote unquote make it.
I mean, they could go. I mean, let's be honest. We have our very own heavyweight champ, Kent Mafaleo. He'll be back, hopefully in November at the Maverick Center, his house that he calls it, and defending his heavyweight title successfully, hopefully for a second time. As a 5-0 pro, he defends it against the right person. 6-0 pro, like he's probably getting signed straight to the UFC. He don't have to go to LFA. You know what I mean? Like, shout out to our welterweight champion right now, Carson Hardman, makes his PFL debut tomorrow night, baby. Like, let's go. Taking a fight on short notice. He was supposed to be on this August 26th card. Get a phone call. He's like, I had an opponent. Everything. He's going to defend his title. Co-main event. It's going to be sick. He's like, hey, man, I just got signed to the PFL. Freaking, that's what we're doing, Like, that's what we want. Is we want those guys. We want to put them in those PFL, the Bellators, the UFCs, and stuff like that. But what sucks is, I mean, there's fighters that they're like, man, I really think I'm worth this, right? For example, a fighter comes to me and he says, man, I think I'm worth like 2,000 and 2,000. Yeah, and I'm going to pull back the curtain here, and I go and I look up his ticket sales. Hey, brother, you sell $5,000 in tickets, which isn't chump change. Like, that's not bad.
Absolutely.
That's not bad. But guess what? You're a beast. You want 2,000 and 2,000? 2,000. We're going to assume you win because you're the Utah guy and we're pulling for you to win, right? Like, I mean, this isn't breaking news. Like, I'm not bringing in guys to beat the Utah guys. I'm bringing them in to be competitive fights, and if they win, they win. Props to them, and there's no hard feelings there, But like, I mean, promoting 101 is you want the hometown guy. If you're bringing people in, you want the hometown guys to win.
Absolutely.
Because the crowd gets more into it. The crowd has a better experience. You go somewhere and they all lose. Like, all the Utah guys lose. It's
you're building a fan base.
We're building a fan base, right? This is the business side of it. So,
now that he's talking about a person who says, hey, I think I'm worth it, it's like,
you're worth
the job is like so similar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but here's the deal. Like, he wants 2,000, let's say, and he sells $5,000 worth of tickets. Well, here we go, brother. You're a beast. So guess what? To fight you, somebody's going to want a lot of money too, because you're not an easy fight. And so if they're going to fight you, they're going to want to get paid 2,000 and 2,000 too. And then, I got to book plane tickets or pay for their travel for them and their coach or coaches. Okay, so that's going to be probably another $1,200 to $1,500. Oh, and then I got to put them in a hotel, and then I have to arrange for their rides, whether I have to pay a driver or reimburse them for Ubers or whatever and stuff. And all of a sudden, it's like, to put this fight on, it's going to cost me $7,000 to put this fight on. If you're making 2 and 2 and he's making 2 and 2, because I'm going to have to pay. You know what I mean? And now, now we're losing money. Well, that can't happen.
You got to think it's a business.
So guess what? This is what I can pay you. I can pay you. I can pay because this is what you're worth. And fighters think it's off their worth is based off their records and wins and losses.
Right.
But it's not to a promotion. Putting on fun, exciting fights. I get people all the time that message me. He's like, please, I want to come fight for your promotion. I'll put on a super exciting fight. I don't have anybody for you right now.
Right.
What do you mean you don't have anybody for me? Like bring in somebody from Vegas. You want me to bring in 2 out-of-towners that you guys aren't going to sell a single ticket at the Maverick Center?
Absolutely. Yeah.
You might sell like 10 pay-per-views together. He might have 5 watch parties. You might have 5 watch parties. And I'm just going to lose like...
That makes so much fucking sense, dude.
And I might spend, $6, $7, $8 to put this sick fight on, and it's great. But sick fights don't pay the bills.
Yeah, don't pay the bills.
Do you have any platform? I know you said that you haven't done the podcast in a minute, but do you have a platform where you actually tell these things and how it is?
So when I negotiate with fighters, I'm very realistic with them. I just unfortunately, we just had a fight that could have been on this card. He's a vet. He's been around for a long time. Good fighter. Somebody I consider a friend. That I like, and he goes, "Hey, bro, like I gotta have this. I gotta have this to fight." I said, "Okay, well, let me go see what your sales have been like at the Maverick Center." I go look it up, and I said, "Not only can I not pay you that number, I probably can't even pay you half that number."
It's because it's pretty cut and dry. The system you have when you log on, you click on the fight card, and you go, "Well, this is my guy." And it gives you a real number, right? Like, there's plenty of people to walk in to buy tickets, but anybody that's a true fan is going to buy a ticket associated with that fighter.
To support the fighter.
It doesn't lie, right?
Not really. I have a kid that I love him to death as a person, and he's a good fighter. He's talented. He does all the right things, right? He works hard. He shows up on weight, never misses weight. He's respectful. He's a good martial artist. He's getting better all the time. He's a good training partner in the training room at his gym. He does all the right things. He doesn't sell any tickets. He's like, I want to fight all the time. And I'm like, well, what do you want me to do if you don't sell any tickets, bro? Like, even though you're an amateur, like, I still got to pay somebody at least a couple $100s in travel to bring them up from Vegas and pay for their hotel rooms and stuff. Like, got to at least sell like $500 in tickets so I can break even on it.
So you cover flight, you cover hotel, you cover rides back and forth.
Sure.
Jesus Christ. But you can imagine, as somebody that's a mediocre fan that doesn't know the business side of things, when you walk into the Maverick Center, there's the drop bowl, there's the cage, there's the lights, you're like, the wow factor. They're just...
Dude, that's why I said it's interesting. I want to pull back the curtain a little bit to give people a perspective. Like, here's the thing, and I mean, take it for what it is or whatever, but like I said, I want an extra 500 to 1,000 people in the Maverick Center to come buy tickets, not so I can line my pockets, so I can pay the fighters better.
Pay the fighters, right? Mm-hmm. Pay the fighters.
So that I can bring better talent to bring a better show to Utah. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a greed thing. It's not a whatever. It's, man, how does the Delta Center get 20,000 plus in there, and like we can't get 4,000 in the Maverick Center? Like, the fights are good enough. Like, you've been there. Like, we put on a good show. Absolutely. I know we put on a good show, and the fights are good, and the quality's good, and things like that. We just need more people to know that it's happening. And spread the word and word of mouth, because if you come, you're going to have a good time. And the more people that come, the better it's going to get for everybody. Energy is infectious. Yeah. And the more people come, the more energy that's going to be there, the more they're going to want to come back. The more people come back, the more money it brings in. The more money it brings in, the better I can pay the fighters closer to what they deserve. Right. And I'm still a fighter myself, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
you get it.
I want to take care of the guys. Yeah. Like, I want to be their advocate. I want to be the matchmaker and the promoter that they know is trying to pay them as much as they possibly can, you know? I mean, and again, but like, you know, give me a big ticket seller. Give me a guy that sells, you know, puts over 100 people in the seats. Dude, I'll bring in anybody from across the country for him. You know, like, right. It's not always about the money. It's about making enough money so it's worth it, so we can pay our bills and support our families. And
if we don't pay the bills, we don't have another show, right?
That's right, yeah. Right? I mean, but once we hit that threshold, all the money's going back. Yeah. And we'll put on better fights and we'll put on a better show for the fans, and we're going to snowball this thing. I have no doubt, and you know, but within 2 to 3 years, that venue is going to be full.
Well, events like the UFC coming here and seeing how big it is, man. You think it gives you a pop at the end of the day?
You know what's crazy is I'm a pretty social guy. Go to the UFC fights with my son, but I'm talking to the people around me. I'm just like, hey, you guys know there's a show at the Maverick Center in a month? No. Ever heard of Fierce Fighting Championship? Nope. Ever heard of Steel Fist? Nope. Ever heard of Crown Fighting Championship in St. George? Nope.
It's sad.
I'm like,
so sad.
Man, but you love MMA? Love MMA. Watch every UFC card. I'm like, you know, we have really good shows here locally.
So what do you think is lacking?
I don't know, and I think if you could figure that out, that's the golden key to unlocking letting it know, because it's like,
I want to need $2,000 though too.
I mean, obviously,
it's 2 and 2.
It's 2 and 2. If you want me to tell you,
the answer you got ain't worth it, dog.
So I can smell the bullshit, my friend.
I can give you 200.
Because we can promote on this podcast.
But like, what else can we do? Obviously, you being in a couple podcasts, you guys have your own podcast. You're doing your own promotions.
Sure.
What else? What else?
That's grassroots media.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do, right? We get the word out here. I hit up Justin, come on here, because I want to talk about the show, talk about my fight a little bit, and I like come chopping it up with you guys.
Yeah, for sure.
But you know, it's more people just need to know that there are good shows happening here locally, in the fan, like, and I know our fan base is growing because I look at it, the percentage of fighter sales. So I get this breakdown of how many tickets are sold, right? And how many sold are by the fighters and how many are just public sales of just fans that are like, I don't really care who's fighting. I'm just going to come watch because I know Fierce Fighting Championship's going to put on a good card. The percentage is going up every single show of the percent of public sales. So I know our local fan base is growing where people are like, oh, cool, you know? And so it's like, we just need, on top of what the fighters sell, for more fans to just go, I mean, I don't even care if they support a fighter. I'd like them to support a fighter. I mean, in an ideal world, every single person would click on a fighter link so that the fighters get a commission, because that's what happens, right? They go click on the fighter that they're going to go support's picture. You know, for example, if you go on to fiercefightingchampionship.com, you go to tickets, and every single fighter has their picture on there. You click on their picture, and it takes you straight to Ticketmaster, and that link identifies with that fighter, and that's how they get credit for selling the ticket, and then they get a commission off that.
You're a guy of the peddling tickets. You got a stack of tickets, right?
Sure.
And that's how at the end of the day, I had to return this many tickets, right?
Yeah.
You guys don't do it. It's just strictly built off.
Yeah, we don't do hard tickets. There's pros and cons to it. I think when you actually have tickets in hand and you can go. But so you have to understand too, and this might surprise a lot of people, a lot of fighters are introverts.
Oh, really?
I would actually say more introverts than not.
Instead of outgoing salesmen, right?
Yes. And so I think most fighters are a lot more comfortable just putting their link in their bio on their social media and just and making a post. Most fighters, and here's the thing, like, I'm an amateur fighter, but it's like,
That's very interesting.
you know, I'm an amateur fighter, but you know, I have no problem going out there. But man, like, these fighters that I just talked about that maybe don't sell very many tickets or sell tickets at all. The other thing is the part that that's hard for me is I'm like, dude, it's not hard. You just need to tell your coworkers, hey, you know, I'm fighting. You should come check it out. It's really fun.
Right.
You just need to tell the people that you bump into, hey, you know, I'm fighting. Like, I'm fighting at the Maverick Center on August 26th. Come check it out. They just need to post like once a week or twice a week on their social media, you know, take a picture of them after training at the gym, take a picture and say, hey, yo, like, don't forget, go to the link in my bio to buy tickets to my fight. Like, 3 weeks, let's go. You know, something. Dude, those little things. I mean, some fighters make a pretty good paycheck just off their commissions.
Wow.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't like to put people's business out there, but I mean, we have an amateur fighter that made almost $4,000 last year.
Wow.
In one event.
Just off tickets.
Just off his commissions on ticket sales.
Good for him.
I mean, it's doable.
It's there. You just got to take advantage of it.
And some people are like, I just want to fight, man. That's great if you just want to fight, but then again too, do you want to fight at the Maverick Center?
No.
Do you want the promotions like Fierce to stay around?
You got to put in the work too.
Because it goes both ways. Some people, it's like your job to promote, it's my job to fight. No. It's our job. It's my job to promote the fight, but it's your job to promote yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
You're an independent contractor.
Right.
Yeah, because you promote everybody.
Yeah, we try to. We've been doing a lot more with like highlight videos and stuff like that, trying to give fighters content to promote themselves. But at the end of the day, they have to go out there and promote themselves.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yo, this music is
Brought to you by.
You know, it's funny. I think it's because this is what will pick it up, right?
Yeah, it'll only pick up our voice.
And this is just like this, how close we are, how far they are. It won't be as bad, but we can get out of here if you guys want.
Yeah. What are we at on time? Oh yeah, we're there. Okay, well let's kind of retrack on everything. First and foremost, damage plan insurance. Right now,
My
get my guy up right here. I'm talking about the number one insurance guy. And I'm not just because
You
you're
have
my, you're
all
my
your
insurance
toys
guy.
with him?
Everything. In fact, we're about to talk about him taking care of me. I got a great story we need to talk about. But save me fucking money every month. You're a fool if you don't at least give Zack a call. We'll put a link on, get a hold of him. He'll take care of you.
This is my guy.
And he doesn't just. I mean, you're a broker, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a broker. He will find you the best rate. Don't fuck around. Secondly, Fierce Fighting Championship, August 26th, Maverick Center. Go get tickets. We'll share the link. Should we give some tickets away?
Wow, you
Get some
want
tickets
to?
away? We'll get a set of tickets. We'll get
down.
some tickets away on the show.
We'll take care
Come
of that.
hang out with the Come hang out with the bees.
You go like the link, and then we'll put something together.
Cool.
So and then
Yeah,
you get
we'll take
insurance,
that.
and then we'll go with it.
Hey, who else does this for you?
shebang.
Who else does this for you?
September 30th, St. George. Did I get the day right?
Yeah.
Crown Fighting Championship.
Yeah.
Our man, 170 pounds, coming back to fight
Patrick Brand.
Patrick. Yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm just kidding.
What's your name? It doesn't matter what your name is.
So let's take a trek to St. George. Dude, thank you for coming on.
Thank you, guys.
The beauty part about you coming on, first and foremost, you're a podcaster, so you're a great fucking interview.
Yeah.
Secondly, you gave us a little peer behind the MMA world. And it's always good to see you, man. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, guys.
What's your socials?
Today we were like, oh, Zack is coming today, right? He's like, yeah, how do you think it's going to go? And we both went like, well, he's a podcaster. It's going to
Right.
go just fine.
He can talk forever.
You know the struggles, though. You know the struggles.
For sure.
Yeah,
You
so-
talk about introverts, and you've interviewed guys. You're like, come on.
Like, so how do you think this fight will go? Good. Okay. Thanks.
Right.
Well, tell people where they can find everything about you and your OnlyFans and everything.
No, I mean, there's no OnlyFans here, but just at Ridge79. My last name's Partridge, so my Instagram's just at Ridge79. That's the easiest. Follow us on Fierce Fighting Championship. We have shows every month all over the state. You know, we've had shows from Price now up to Clearfield High School. We got a freaking
Clearfield alumni right here, boy.
We have a freaking sick card brewing in Farmington. We're returning to Farmington, Utah in September. And then a little tidbit, we are currently looking at and going up to Park City, Heber area in October.
Motherfuckers are growing, dude.
So-
I'm telling you.
Like it's cool. It's cool. And then August 26th, be super excited. Come to the Maverick Center, and then you'll see there a pretty sick promo drop for what we got cooking for November back at the Maverick Center to close out the year.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
You can find me on Angel Severa on Instagram, Angel Severa on Facebook. That's my last name, Cervera. Want to talk about these now that we're leaving, dude?
Oh, I didn't even notice those.
My concretes?
Oh, okay.
Anyway,
Okay.
you might see these in the office tomorrow. Just insane.
Now he's an office guy. He's
This guy
got to change his
got
shoes.
some
every other
spizikes.
thing. Anyway, you can catch me on the gram. Hide your kids' ears. Lord_long_balls. That's
He
with a
hasn't
Z.
changed it.
I've got to change it. It's not very professional. I did it for the podcast. Now that, because I am qualified for a Lord in England, my bloodline says that. But
Right. See, before you laugh,
but-
you do your
but-
Oh, I'm
research.
laughing.
I'm on the TRT, so the balls are not long anymore. So I
speaking
can't
of-
fight for you guys. So
speaking
Sure you can. TRT's not
Speaking
illegal.
of, my trainer, he looked at me and he goes, you should get your testosterone checked.
I tell
Everybody
you,
should
dude.
get their
I
testosterone
tell you,
checked.
dude. I got it checked.
That
and
and a therapist. I
it's
need both.
changed my fucking life, and it's not like I'm. Well, we won't even do
Yeah.
it. Anyway, till next time. Take care
Until
of
next time,
yourselves.
take care of yourselves out there, and we will see you on the other side of the beehive.
Give us a piece.
Peace.
There you go. Thank you, sir.